So in this video I will talk a little bit how I'm studying Russian language. So I'm just a beginner of studying Russian language. I've been wanting to learn the language for quite some time, and my native language is Swedish. So for me Russian language is like very difficult based on my native language. And I've been studying a little bit, and I will tell you about how I've been doing this and what I think actually is working. And I will show you some of the books that I've gotten just now that I haven't even started with, but what I will be doing. And I hope maybe this can be helpful for anybody else who's starting to learn Russian language, maybe because you're gonna move to Russia, or maybe because you have Russian friends, or maybe you want to go and do business in Russia, or maybe you just have some kind of reason for learning Russian language. So yeah, number one, what I've been doing is that I've been practicing the letters, Russian letters, because Swedish alphabet is it's not the same at all. So I've been kind of writing down all the letters in the Russian language and just practicing, repeating them. And I didn't stop like my progress and only focusing on this. I kind of wrote down and I repeated a few times, and then I kind of moved on to words, like to how to say words, even if I don't even know all the letters. And then every few days I've been going back and kind of practicing the letters and trying to memorize them, because to memorize a whole new language and get it into the head, it kind of is not just one time practice, and it's not like, or maybe for some it is, but not for me. I need to repeat, and not repeat and get stuck in one thing, but kind of repeat over time, so it actually gets stuck in here. That's number one. Number two is that I was looking for resources online, because online you have all kinds of, like language courses and language material. And what I found for me to work is a YouTuber who is called Real Russian Club. And I think she is a professor in the Russian language, and she makes like various kinds of videos and material about how to learn the language. And in her video kind of playlist, I found grammar. So I thought I need to kind of learn the letters, and then I need to move on to grammar, because for me as a Swedish native speaker, I don't understand Russian grammar, because we don't have same grammar kind of system. There are some things that are different. A lot of the things are just exactly the same, like subjectives and so on, but there are some different ways of kind of using and kind of making the verbs, kind of construction of different things that I don't understand, and I need to learn this. I need to learn. So I decided I will watch and go over the grammar videos that Real Russian Club YouTube had, and in total it's 23 videos, and I am at this point I'm around 15. So I've been doing 15 videos over the past, I will say, a few weeks or months or something, and then I have to continue, obviously. But in every few videos, for example about verbs, where she explains about the verbs, she also say that it's up to the student to kind of practice and learning the verbs themselves. So this is a big topic, for example, verbs, and how to kind of construct them and change the endings so they suiting for who is doing something, So I'm still not really going in too much into the verbs, but I need to start with that as well. Obviously you can learn the verbs like sit, but you also need to learn how he is sitting and what kind of ending you adding to when he is doing something, it is doing something, or she is doing something, or I am doing something. But at least if you know the basic form, at least you can say he sit. You can say at least so people understand what is the word you're trying to say something about. But you need to have the ending, because in Russian there are some endings to depending who is doing something. So, and this is difficult for me because Swedish language doesn't have this system, you know. So I need to practice. And so I've been going over, and for every video that I've been going over, I kind of been, you know, taking notes of everything that she is saying in every video. And I've been also trying to write. So you see that I looked through the letters quite quickly, and then I just started to write. I just looked at how she's writing, and I just writing, because for me as an adult person, I don't have 500 years learning. I need to learn fast. I need to learn smart and kind of hack the language learning process, you know. So I was starting to write, even if I'm not able to read what I'm writing, you know, but I'm just writing. And then as I progress, learning how to write and read full words, you know. So I've been going over, as I said, around 15 videos. So that means I did a lot of notes. And as I continue with the grammar, I also realized that I need to add vocabularies, like words, other words than, because in the video she might use the word cat or table, but she doesn't use, for example, curtains, glass and stuff like this. And these words I need to study myself. And in order for me to do that, I have some recommendations, and that is the books that I got. And now you can also, in addition to these types of books, you can also like use Google Translate, because the books doesn't speak by themselves. It's me who has to be able to read and understand, and I can't really read fully and get the right pronunciation. So I'm gonna use these resources and I will show them to you. And then when I'm going over each of the words, I will also use Google Translate so that I can translate the word and hear how do they say it in Russian. Because when I can listening to how they say it, I will pronounce it. I will try and speak it myself. Because for me, most important thing is I must be able to speak. I must be able to make myself understood to other people. I need to be able to speak and know the words of the situations that I think I will be mostly in. So for example, going to the bank, going in the transport system, buying things, knowing the words of the food that I'm eating, and maybe some other stuff, migration words or something, you know. But I think migration, that is like, if you need to know the words specifically for that, you maybe can print out the papers you need, and then you can sort of translate them in advance before you're going. So you don't need to memorize everything, but just the basic situations that I think I will find myself in and where I need to know to communicate. Because some situations, for example, if you are just in your own kind of, let's say inside your hotel room or inside your room or something, you maybe doesn't need to speak any Russian language. But as soon as you are in the context of a situation where you need to speak, that's those are the words you need to be able to say. So, and also emergencies, like for example, if I break my leg, and if I have pain, I need to be able to say these things to make myself understood. I think this is the most important thing, you know. And also to ask questions to other people and understand other people, obviously. But there's resources for learning words that I have purchased and I just recently got is this Oxford Essential Russian Dictionary, and this is a translation between Russian and English and Russian. So obviously I can't really use the Russian to English because I'm not fluently reading Russian yet, so I can't use it at this point, but later I can maybe do that. But I will look at, for example, some words here. For example, let's say like shampoo. Here it says shampoo in English, and then I can see how is it written in Russian, and then I'm thinking maybe this word I definitely need to know how to say. Then I can use Google Translate and obviously write the English word and then listening to how they say it in Russian and practice to speak it. So I wanted one book like this. I know I have Google Translate, but I wanted a book as well, because you never know if the internet is down. Sometimes the internet maybe is down where I am in Sweden, so I need to have some physical copy that I can look. And also I think it's about the learning process itself, that looking in a book is a different way of learning than only looking on the screen. And it's a lot of screens involved in learning, I would say. So yeah, and in most foremost complement to learning vocabulary, I got myself this book. It says Lär dig ryska. This is in Swedish, it means like learn Russian. And this book has 2000 common words in Russian. And it has a system for how you should go about and learn these. Obviously, this is not necessary. This book is kind of, if you are a person who cannot organize or doesn't want to organize your kind of vocabulary learning yourself, then this book is just giving you an idea of how to step by step adding and learning words that you maybe will be needing. And for me, I wanted something like this, you know. So for example, the first words in this book, 1 to 25, that I need to learn is, for example, I, he, she, it, and for example, real, later, which, this one, not, because, these types of words. And obviously I can't read all these words in Russian. I can read some, but not all the words. So the ones that I cannot read, I will look up also in Google Translate, but at least I have them written here in an order that is good to start practicing, like in terms of how progress is done. But I think it's no point in only learning to say I and learning he or she or it or you, because the order of this, if you think about it, I, you, it's not always maybe how it's most going into the memory, you know. It might be that I need to add I, you know, to something else that I will memorize. So for example, I want tea, you know, I want tea. That is maybe how I will remember I in Russian. So therefore I might need to add the word itself into a meaning. So then I will learn and put it into my head here, you know. And also I would say that, for example, some of the words, how to memorize them. For example, I'm kind of I want to have visual inputs in terms of words. So I want to be able to see an item and add the words to it, you know. So for example, mirror is sirkala, and I have a mirror right here in the where I'm sitting, and I have been looking on the mirror and then adding the words to it with a little bit of melody, and that's how it has gotten into my head that I memorize it, you know. So kind of use pictures or like real visual kind of images that you see around you, and then you think about, okay, if you see a flower that you really like, then you think, what is the word in Russian? What is the word in Russian? Because otherwise, if you just try and sit and look on the letters, you know, like flower, and you only look in here in the book, it's much more difficult to memorize it. because you don't have any, your brain cannot make any association to the actual item, only seeing the letters, you know. So I would say that look here, but then try and connect it to some kind of visual thing so that it gets into the head here. And then also when I flipped through this book, I saw that there are some things, for example, there was something about sport here. And I must say that sport, like a marathon, I know for sure I will not need to know marathon, because if I am not myself gonna run a marathon in Russia anytime soon, I don't need to know. For example, here it said when I got to 1000 something word, it says marathon. Now I'm not gonna run a marathon in Russian, so for sure. Or for example, this ice skating where they do acrobatic things, you know, I don't need to know this word. It's not like the number one thing I must learn. So you can also skip for sure some of the words if you buy a book that has included a lot of vocabularies, because you must think about what do you need to know to speak for kinds of situations. What will you be in for situation? You have to base your learning based on your own life. What will you be in for sort of situation? So don't learn just all sports in the world, or learning all the countries name in the world, or learning all the insects, because I saw there was one page here with all the insects names. Obviously it's useless to learn it as, you know, as a first step of knowing how to speak, you know, because if it's not something, if you're not working with insects or gonna be inside the forest or something where there's only insects, then you don't need to know it as number one priority. So I will use this book, but if there are some words, I will base my learning like on what situations I will be in myself. So when I go over this book with vocabularies, I will look at the words, and then I will listening in Google Translate how I say them, and I will speak them, maybe repeat them a few times. I don't think I will try and write them down, because for me to write in Russian language is not a priority at all, and also not at this point. And then I will try memorize the words I think I need to know based on what situations I will be in myself, most likely. And I will try and associate the words into actual visual things that I can connect the word to, so that I memorize it. And if there are some words in this one that I feel like, this one is not really, you know, then I can use this one. And also, for example, if I had any kind of Russian material, for example, a newspaper or some, maybe like magazine in Russian where there's like food names of things that I actually buy myself, then I could obviously use this one to translate the words in Russian to know what it means, you know. But I think that so far I'm not really seeing any Russian language, because I'm in Sweden and here there is no Russian language in the everywhere, you know. So I'm not there yet, but I still think having a like a hard copy like this is good, because it kind of makes you also you know, paper more like I don't know, using the hands like to feel the word as well, you know. And the same thing, for example, if you have, for example, soft, if you're gonna learn the word soft, maybe like have some kind of item that is soft, and then you kind of try and you use the fingers, you like feel, okay, this one is soft, and you saying the Russian words, and you kind of get it into not only seeing but also like kind of sense all your senses. Or for example, if you want to learn how to say hamburger in Russian, maybe smell a hamburger and then you saying the word. So you using all your senses in order to learn the words you need to know. And also obviously it's difficult to memorize everything, so just maybe do a few words. And I think for me most important is that I can make sentences about situations that I will be in, and that is my priority. So have a few words and then start making sentences and thinking in Russian how to make a sentence. And obviously, as I said, all the endings of the verbs I will kind of do very slowly in learning, you know. I think if I just know the verb itself, like sit, stand or something, then it's okay, but obviously I need to add in the ending as well. But because there are so many verbs and other words, obviously you need to do a little by little. And so this is what I'm doing, you know. So I also think one very important thing for learning is time, to have time for this. And for everybody who's gonna learn a new language or learning Russian language, you need to have the time for it. But I think that as soon as you also are in Russian context, you also learning, because you will be forced a bit to learn. It's kind of you pushing yourself to learning because people around you speaking, or you are in situations where you must be able to understand, but it's kind of more like it can be a bit stressful. So obviously it's better to have the time to sit yourself, or if you have somebody else who also learning the language, you can sit together and actually practice and practice. And I would say that I need a lot of time for this. So I have like the time now actually to learn, so I'm gonna try and focus and learning on this. But I would say motivational wise, you need also have to have the motivation to why you're learning, to always have the motivation. If you know why you're learning, then it's much easier. So for example, my reason for learning is that I want to be able to go to Russia and I want to be able to speak and understand things in Russia in Russian language. This is my motivation. So if you have a clear motivation, it will make it easier, even if you are not exposed to the language in your current context. But yeah, so my next step that I will do is vocabulary, like look at the words, listening in Google Translate, repeat and say it, and try and associate it to some item that will make me memorize the word, and also continue the grammar, continue until I understand most of the grammar. And also the verbs, I need to understand these verbs, because very important to be able to speak verbs, you know. And I will also repeat a little bit of what I already have gone over, so I kind of refreshing the memory, making sure it's stored here inside the long-term memory. And also the letters, I'm still not understanding, memorizing all the letters, so I need to do that as well. But most important for me, speaking, and also sound bad. If I, for example, very tired, I don't feel like I can study this or something, you know, then listening just to other people, maybe in YouTube, speaking in Russian, and from listening to them talking about, for example, makeup, skincare, travel or something, I at least picking up some words, and also hearing how they pronouncing things, and that also goes into the head and kind of wire up in here, you know. So it will be easier when I try and speak myself, because somehow my brain has been exposed to the language through, for example, YouTube videos, so I can more easier speak it, you know, imitate how they say it. So yeah, but I just want to say that if you trying to learn Russian language, I think just continue and repeat, and do not give up at all. Just continue, think about your motivation, why you're doing it, you know. And it can be it doesn't have to be like a super long process of learning to speak, because you need to just think about what situations are you most likely in, and to be able to put together key phrases at least, so you can make yourself understood to other people. That's all it takes, and then you can build on more. So at least that's what you should aim at if you want to like learn. And writing, I mean, eventually if you know how to speak, you can always write, because it's it's not super difficult, you know, but I think that there's no point in starting to learn how to write and then kind of move on to speaking. I think you better to speak, because I, for example, want to learn how to speak so I can understand. I will not be writing long text to people, I will be speaking, you know. So yeah, I hope it was useful for somebody, and I will maybe do some more videos about this topic as well, and I will maybe update of how I do this, how my progress is on this, what I kind of find to be useful for somebody trying to learn, and also like maybe I can do some study video where I can have you with, if you want to sit and study together with me. And yeah, so yeah,